Welcome to WhiskyCast, cask strength conversation featuring news and interviews from the world of whiskey. I'm Mark Gillespie, and this is episode number 1102 for March 30th, 2025. Coming up in a few minutes.
What we find that with the stone toasting, we get consistency across the casks. And when you're dealing with a limited edition product like the Double 21 Stone Toast, consistency is really important.
It's time for another visit from Dewar's master blender, Stephanie Macleod. Her latest creation is the Double 21-year-old Stone Toasted Edition, in which the finishing casks were toasted with heated Icelandic magma stones. Sounds gimmicky, but it's a technique first used by winemakers and now used in whiskey for the first time. More with Stephanie Macleod later on WhiskyCast In-Depth. I'll also have the What I'm Tasting This Week department, behind the label, and much more. The news is next on this week's WhiskyCast.
The second release in Dewar's four-part collector series, Dewar's Double 38-year-old, is now available. It's a tribute to the Scottish Highlands, and it's like nothing you've had before. More in a minute.
Let's get started with the news. It's brought to you by the Dalmore. Irish whiskey makers are waiting nervously to see what comes out of this week's tariff announcements in Washington. President Donald Trump has said that Wednesday will be the day he announces reciprocal tariffs on countries that have their own tariffs on American exports, and he has cited Ireland's pharmaceutical industry as one potential target. Irish whiskey makers count on the U.S. for 40% of their exports and would be targeted if Trump follows through on his threat to impose a 200% tariff on imports of European food and drinks. As a reminder, tariffs are a tax paid by companies that import goods from other countries and are not paid by the exporting country. One Kentucky bourbon maker has seen his email inbox flooded with messages from Canada since going public with his anti-tariff stance. Victor Yarbrough of Brew Brothers Distilling in Louisville has done interviews with both American and Canadian media since Canadian provinces pulled American whiskeys from their shelves several weeks ago. Yarbrough told the CBC that the boycott cost him a deal in New Brunswick, and the emails have been mostly negative, blaming President Trump and his repeated desire to make Canada the 51st U.S. state. The global economy is hurting these days, and Diageo's decision earlier this month to withdraw funding from its partnership with the Distill Ventures Venture Capital Fund is having an impact. Denmark's Stauning distillery is 49% owned by Diageo through Distill Ventures and had to lay off 13 workers this month. The cuts include Stauning's entire U.S. sales team. Thomas Mooney of Oregon's Westward Whiskey is also a Distill Ventures partner and told me in an email this week that the next several months will be disruptive to Westward's business, but he expects to come out of it stronger and better positioned as an independent distiller. Mooney said with Diageo's stock price down 27.8% over the past year, it makes sense for them to abandon highly speculative investments that won't contribute to the bottom line in the near future. Meanwhile, Australia's Starward Distillery is running business as usual, according to founder David Vitale. In other news, workers at Inverhouse's distilleries in Scotland have voted in favor of a strike after contract talks broke down. GMB Scotland says 78% of those voting supported a strike and the union's continued demand for a 4% wage increase. The company is holding firm at 3% and an annual bonus. No date for industrial action has been set. Japanese whiskey makers are seeking geographical indication status with Japan's National Tax Agency. That would allow them to make the voluntary standards for Japanese whiskey adopted in 2021 enforceable under Japanese law. They're also adopting a new logo for genuine Japanese whiskeys to differentiate them from imitations. Suntory plans to start using the logo on its export whiskeys by the end of the year in some key markets. Irish regulators have shot down Walsh Whisky Company's bid to build a new distillery in County Carlow. County council members rejected plans for the $37 million project over the potential impact on the water supply in Dunleckney, along with unresolved concerns over the use of biofuel instead of natural gas. Walsh CEO John Griffin told the Spirits Business the company is disappointed with the ruling and will work to address the county's concerns. The company had hoped to begin distilling at the former Dunleckney maltings next year. Tullibardine Distillery is getting a new manager following the retirement of longtime manager David Miles. Minnie Parmenter was a co-founder of Copper Lion Distillery and has previous experience at Ecklandville Distillery in Ireland and Diageo's Rose Isle Distillery. Whisky Magazine handed out its World Whiskies Awards the other night in London. The Glenallachie 12-year-old was named the world's best single malt whiskey, while Three Ships from South Africa was named the world's best blended whiskey. Old Fitzgerald Bottled and Bond was named the world's best bourbon, while Andalusia Distillery's Striker American Single Malt from Texas was named the world's best small batch single malt. Those are just a few of the winners. We have a link to the complete list of winners in the show notes for this episode at WhiskyCast.com. The magazine also presented its final Icons of Whiskey winners for 2025. Scotland's Holyrood Distillery was named Distiller of the Year, while Bardstown Bourbon Company was named Brand Innovator of the Year. The Paul John Visitor Center in Goa, India was named Visitor Attraction of the Year. Once again, we have a link to the complete list of winners in the show notes for this episode at WhiskyCast.com. And congratulations to our good friend Dave Broom and Anssi Paising of Finland's Tirinpeli Distillery. Both were named to Whisky Magazine's Hall of Fame. New whiskeys to mention this week. Bruichladdich has introduced a new 16-year-old travel retail exclusive single malt distilled from 100% organic barley. The whiskey made its debut at Singapore's Changi Airport and will eventually be rolled out globally. Elixir Distillers has unveiled 3 new Islay single malts under the Port Ascaig banner. There's the second release of Port Ascaig Cask Strength, along with new 15- and 25-year-old malts. All 3 will be available globally starting in April. On the American front, Michter's is out with the latest batch of its 10-year-old bourbon. It'll carry a recommended retail price of $195 a bottle. The year's first batch of Booker's bourbon is out now. It's nicknamed Barry's Batch, in honor of longtime Beam CEO Barry Barish, who was a friend of the No family and kept the company going during the dark days of the 70s and 80s. He passed away last year, and his batch of Booker's carries a recommended retail price of $100 a bottle. Lux Row Distillers is releasing the 11th pack of Blood Oath bourbon. Master blender John Rempe used tequila casks to finish this edition. It'll go on sale starting April 26th at a special event at Lux Row in Bardstown, Kentucky, and will be available nationwide. Finally, New Riff Distilling is out with its annual releases of Silver Grove whiskeys, named for the town downriver from Newport, Kentucky, where New Riff has its warehouses. They're only available at the distillery's gift shop. Proceeds from each bottle go to the Silver Grove Community Foundation. You can keep up with the latest whiskey news all week long at WhiskyCast.com and in the WhiskyCast community app. The news is brought to you by the Dalmore.
Hello, Richard Patterson here, Master Distiller, Master Blender for the Dalmore. You know, whenever the team and I are in the world sharing our exceptional single malt, we like to keep in touch with Mark Gillespie and the latest news from WhiskyCast.
Let's open up the calendar and see what's happening around the world of whiskey. The New Jersey Whiskey Classic is this Thursday night in Morristown, New Jersey. The Vilnius Whiskey Festival is this weekend in Vilnius, Lithuania, along with Malt in France in Rennes, France. The Texas Whiskey Festival is April 12th in Austin, along with Welcome to Whiskey in London. The Nth runs from April 23rd through the 25th in Las Vegas. The Miami Whiskey Mash is on the 26th, and the Kentucky Bourbon Festival will hold its annual Distiller Dinner on the 30th in Louisville. Finally, the Spirit of Speyside Festival gets underway on the 30th and runs through May 5th. Tickets are still available for some events. If you're organizing a whiskey event, let us know about it. We'll add it to the calendars at WhiskyCast.com and in the WhiskyCast community app.
Dewar's Double Double 38-year-old is the second release in a 4-part limited edition collector series honoring Scotland's most legendary whiskey regions. This rare blended malt, a tribute to the Upper Scottish Highlands, is crafted from nearly 4-decade-old Highland and Islay whiskies. It undergoes Dewar's unique 4-stage aging process with a final finish in Pedro Jimenez sherry casks from the prestigious Royal Brackla single malt. The finish invites you to explore your own tasting notes, but for me, there's incredible depth, with rich layers of vanilla, toasted cereals, dried figs, plums, dark chocolate, and a subtle hint of Islay smoke, all beautifully balanced. To truly elevate this tasting experience, renowned chef Gabriel Cruther, in collaboration with Dewar's, has created an exclusive selection of custom chocolates. Crafted from the world's finest ingredients, each piece is infused with a few precious drops of Dewar's Double Double 38-year-old whiskey, making this a luxurious and unforgettable pairing. Now available, this exquisite pairing of whiskey and chocolate promises to deliver an unforgettable experience. Please drink responsibly. Copyright 2024. Dewar's is a trademark. Imported by John Dewar & Sons Company, Coral Gables, Florida. Blended Scotch whiskey, 48.8% alcohol by volume.
Dewar's Master Blender, Stephanie Macleod, was named the Global Master Distiller / Master Blender of the Year the other night in Whisky Magazine's annual Icons of Whiskey Awards. Her latest creation is the Dewar's Double Double 21-year-old Stone Toasted finish. It's made using finishing casks toasted gently with heated Icelandic magma stones. And as Stephanie told me the other day on a Zoom call, it's a technique that comes from the wine world.
So this has been a really exciting project for us. It really came about as a result of a discussion with one of our barrel suppliers, and they were showing us different things from across the wine industry, the spirits industry, just a kind of session to allow us to brainstorm and explore new ideas. And she started talking about the stone toasting, and we just loved the idea of it. You know, the fact of heating magma stones and jade stones, and using the heat from these stones to toast the casks. And it really piqued our interest, and we decided to start doing some trials. And so we had 2 different types of oak, French oak and American oak, 2 different types of stones, jade and magma, and 2 different toasting levels. And we basically wanted to use this for the Double Double 21 because we had explored things like rye. We had explored Mizunara oak, and we wanted to add in this. So we were, as ever, when we are trying out a different type of cask, we sample it on a monthly basis, just to ensure that the finishing is progressing as we would hope. And then if it's not, or it's doing something that's different from what we thought, we either decide to not continue it or to let it go further and see how it progresses. And that's really how we can guard against any unintended consequences through not sampling on a regular basis.
Now, when you're talking about jade, you're talking about the gemstone jade?
Yes, the stone jade, but this particular one is magma.
Who came up with the idea to toast barrels using magma stones?
It was the wine industry take the credit for that one, or rather the cooperages that supply the wine industry. And we have taken that technology and used it for whiskey.
What does the slow toasting do to the barrel?
Well, obviously it's trying to achieve the same thing as using a flame. But what we feel it's achieved is consistency. Because, what we find is that, say, with a bourbon cask, two casks sitting side by side for the same length of time in the same part of the warehouse with the same whiskey in it can produce two different flavor profiles. So one might be slightly more smoky than the other one, or one slightly more vanilla than the other one. And what we find that with the stone toasting, we get consistency across the casks. And when you're dealing with a limited edition product like the Double 21 Stone Toast, consistency is really important, because it means then that we get this much more of an impact from the flavour through having every single cask doing the same thing. And so it just gives us that kind of volume of impact of the different flavour notes that we get from, in this case, the French oak with magma. So that is one of the most important parts. We haven't looked, however, at the actual wood itself and then compared it with, an American oak bourbon cask. We haven't done that. And that would be an interesting thing for us to look at, and maybe compare it against Mizunara as well, just as another kind of nice bit of research work. But we're really pleased with the results that we got from this project.
Have we taken toasting about as far as we can?
I don't know. I mean, maybe not. I mean, I think, we didn't know that this technology existed until we were told about it. And so hopefully not. Hopefully there's still more things that we can do to make it even more targeted. It would be my hope. Because we always want to continue to innovate. And especially when we spend a lot of money on casks. And so we want to make sure that, while we always love to find something that we didn't expect, sometimes, it can be problematic for us when that happens. Especially when it's a flavour profile that we know our whiskey drinkers love. And so if we can find a way of making it more consistent without it being boringly consistent, then, we're all in favour of it. So it's been a really interesting exploration of American oak, French oak, and this new technique for us of a more targeted and gentler way of heating the oak.
I love going back to see experiments that didn't work. So I'm curious what happened with the jade that caused you not to go with it.
Oh no, we are still going to go with jade. It's just that this particular one, we've gone for the magma. That was just the decision that the brand took. So we have, and we will, explore the jade as well, because, when we were told about, so we've got magma stones and we've got jade stones, we just loved them both, not for any intellectual reason, but it was just, we loved the idea of, wow, magma, it's come from the earth, it's red hot, what's that going to do to our whiskey? Jade made us think of Asia and something perhaps gentler about it. again, as I say, not in any way intellectual or based on any scientific data. It was just a reaction to the possibilities that these two stones could give to our whiskey. And so it was really, really in the spirit of innovation. And, this was something that we have been exploring with the Double Double range, ever since we launched it back in 2018. It's always been our mission to, because we also used rye as well, rye casks, which we hadn't used before, Mizunara, and now this new technique. So we've matured in French oak and American oak before, but never using this technique. So it was just exciting for us, and really in the spirit of our brand.
What else are you working on?
Oh, lots of things. We've been going back to our distilleries and looking at what can we do in our distilleries to give us something slightly different from what we've looked at before. So that's not something that you'll be seeing coming out anytime soon, because that is working on the base spirit, which then has to be matured. But the rest of the team are looking at that. They're going up to the distilleries. They're working with the operators up at the distilleries and seeing what flavors what different flavors can we produce from our distilleries, either by tweaking the process or using something slightly different in the process. So that's been really exciting for us. And it's also exciting for the distilleries as well, because they see us doing things at the back end rather than starting at the distillery level. We continue to look at, the different wine regions and to see what flavors we can get from these amazing wine casks. So that is something that we still continue to look at. We're also looking at, the way in which our blends are set up, and is there anything that we can do with those? So with our Dewar's 12, we now double age in bourbon casks, and that was a very small change, but brought about this huge amplification and elevation of the flavour of Dewar's 12. So it's these things that make us then look again at our whiskies and think, what else can we do? So we're asking lots of questions of ourselves and of our whiskies, and looking at what answers we're getting.
I know it's still a bit early, but the this year's U.S. Open edition is about to come out soon.
Yes.
What can you tell me about it?
Again, it's an exploration of flavour and of our casks. And we're just hoping that this is going to give, more of these fruity notes, and give something that is able to be made into a cocktail. I have no idea what that cocktail is going to be this time, but it's it's something that we enjoy working on, the Dewar's 19 expressions. They add a little bit of fun and excitement to what we're doing, and we're planning the next one as well.
You're not telling me that you're bored, are you?
No, that's the thing that gives us, something that, each year is going to be something different. And that's what we love about it. So exact opposite of being bored. And, we're working on the next one. And that'll be an exciting one as well.
You'll find my tasting notes for the Double 21 Stone Toasted finish in last month's episode 1097 in the archives at WhiskyCast.com. And that is WhiskyCast In-Depth. Let's start off the What I'm Tasting This Week department with the Old Forester 117 series bottled in Bond Rye that I mentioned last week in the news. Of course, it's bottled at 50% ABV. The nose has touches of baking spices, oatmeal cookies, molasses, and honey. The taste is peppery with cinnamon and clove spices, balanced by molasses, honey, and a touch of oak. The finish is long with lingering spices and a touch of molasses. I'm scoring the Old Forester 117 series bottled in Bond Rye a 92. Last week, we heard from Kavalan's David Chen, and this week I received samples of the two 15th anniversary releases from Kavalan. They celebrate the anniversary of the debut of the Solist range back in 2009. The 2009 vintage ex-bourbon cask strength is bottled at 50% ABV, and the nose is malty with a touch of citrusy lemon and lime and hints of freshly cut grass and honey. The taste is fruity with a hint of red apples at first, followed by a burst of cinnamon with hints of citrusy tartness and honey in the background. The finish is long and spicy, and I'm scoring it a 93. Now, the 2009 vintage Ex Oloroso Cask Strength Edition is also bottled at 50% ABV. The nose on this one is full of figs, raisins, and molasses, along with a touch of oak and soft spices. The taste is dry and astringent with notes of raisins, dates, figs, white pepper, and soft oak. The finish is long and astringent with hints of figs, raisins, and dates. I'm scoring the Kavalan 15th Anniversary 2009 Oloroso Cask Strength a 93. I'll be adding these whiskeys to our searchable list of nearly 3,900 different whiskeys from all over the world. Check it out this week at WhiskyCast.com. Let's open up the inbox now and see what people are talking about this week in our community segment. Jeff Papone in Canada posted this on X this week. Watching Homicide, Life on the Street on Crave. One of the characters drinking Jim Peam bourbon. Have you tried it, WhiskyCast? Along with the screen grab of the Jim Peam, spelled P-E-E-M. Nope, that's one of those fake Hollywood brands they use to avoid promoting real liquor brands. Noel Harity posted this in the app the other day. I'm still working my way through the past episodes while staying up with the current ones. Currently listening to August 12th, 2018. Just learned about beaver butt crack juice used in whiskey a few podcasts back. Hashtag the more you know. Well, that's a reference to Tamworth Distilling in New Hampshire, which once made a whiskey flavored with secretions from the anal glands of beavers, hence beaver butt crack juice. Finally, a comment on tariffs, specifically our story in the news about Victor Yarbrough of Brew Brothers Distillery in Louisville getting negative emails from Canada about the tariff situation, even though he's anti-tariff. Canuck Sloth posted this comment in the app. I have to shake my head when there are quotes regarding "we are against tariffs," since that state voted for the current U.S. administration and Trump ran on a tariff platform. Sorry, but in fact, you did vote for tariffs. These are the consequences of voting against free trade. If you'd like to add your comments to the conversation, download the free WhiskyCast community app from your app store and jump right in. You can also find us on Blue Sky, X, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook at WhiskyCast, and the email address is comments@whiskycast.com. Let's close out the show now with Behind the Label, our look at the science, history, and people who make whiskey unique. This week, let's go into deep space, some 390 light-years from Earth. That's where the molecular cloud Sagittarius B2 is located. Astronomers have detected the building blocks of whiskey forming in Sagittarius B2, specifically ethanol. They also found methanol and vinyl alcohol floating around on space dust. The drinks business says it's a sign that the building blocks of life on Earth may have been delivered to our planet by asteroids. If there are other civilizations out there, it's also a sign that we may not be alone in raising a glass once in a while. If you have something you'd like us to look at on an upcoming episode, just get in touch with us. That's all for this episode of WhiskyCast. You'll find links for the stories in this episode in our show notes at whiskycast.com. That's also where you'll find the latest whiskey news, my tasting notes, the calendar of events, the whiskey photo of the week, and, of course, a complete archive of past episodes going all the way back to 2005. Get in touch with us. Download the free WhiskyCast community app from your app store or find us on social media. We're on Blue Sky, X, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook at WhiskyCast, and our email address is comments@whiskycast.com.
Dewar's Double Double 38-year-old blended malt has arrived, and it's a true gem for collectors. Secure a bottle, and you'll be adding a rare piece of history to your collection.
WhiskyCast is a production of Cask Strength Media, copyright 2025. And comes to you from the charming, yet regrettably dry town of Haddonfield, New Jersey. I'm Mark Gillespie, reminding you that when you drink, please drink responsibly. Thanks for listening.